welcome to the Prospect Podcast. Another great week. I have myself here, Coach Schuman, and Coach D, as always. Sometimes to my right, sometimes to my left, depending on how you're looking at the screen. But for me, it's on my left. And then we have our fantastic guest today, Coach Kiy Hester, who's one of the most prolific players as an athlete out of New Jersey. Was a fantastic player in high school. One of the top players in New Jersey. And then he went to Miami and then transferred over to Rutgers and had a great career there. Was a fantastic player for them. And now is coaching at Depaul Catholic High School. So everything comes full circle. He's getting an opportunity to coach with some guys that he played for and learned from, and is now coaching younger people and really helping develop them, which is really great to see. So it's great to have you on, Kiy.
Thank you guys for having me. Just being back coaching. The place I started. Like you said, full circle, man. It's amazing. And then I have my head coach, who's now the AD. He's the D-line coach, and then my DC, when I played, is now the DC again. So a lot of familiar faces. Coach Camp, his brother, two brothers coached me at Rutgers, and then their family bloodline coaching. So it's a lot of wealth and knowledge that I'm learning, from those three guys. And then the staff is amazing. A bunch of other guys that play high level, and just teaching me, the game. Now it's a different perspective of me playing, and then even helping training kids now, training and coaching and just understanding the ins and outs and nuances of formations, different way of breaking up film. It's just like a whole different perspective.
No doubt about it. For people who don't know, talk about your career as an athlete, as a high school player, and college, and then obviously what brought you to coaching, what made you want to start coaching and working in football.
So my journey was kind of weird. It was I was growing up. I didn't play a lot of organized sports. I was in the park. Doing different things like that. And then I think it was my first sport was actually baseball. So I started playing baseball. I was like, athlete, just trying to figure out what to do. And then basketball and football was actually the last sport I played. So I played like seventh grade. And then in my child eighth grade, had a weight limit. You had to have an X on your helmet. And I'm like, I'm not being a tight. They want, tight end DN. I was, the fastest kid on the field, but because I weighed the most and I was taller than everyone, I would have had to, have my hand in the dirt. And I was like, I'm not I think it was just having, put the X on the middle of your helmet when you're a lineman or
right
oversized. So that kind of threw me off. So I ended up playing AU the whole year round. So I was playing with players that was, Tim Thomas' team, but Jimmy Solomon was running it, and a lot of good guys. That program produced a lot. I was actually on the team with Briscoe, Nasir Barino, who's actually the coach at Shabazz. So I was with a bunch of guys, and actually the DePaul assistant, who was the head coach at eventually my senior year, Coach Hagan, he recruited me and my guy Juwan Carter, who's a senior that they won the counties my senior year at DePaul. He recruited us too, and I went on the visit. I loved it, but I actually I never heard back from him. So I ended up I was living in Bloomfield. That's the town I grew up in. So I was practicing in Bloomfield, doing 7-on-7s. Basketball starting, I was still in eighth grade, starting varsity, getting a lot of reps. And, DePaul called my mom, like maybe right before training camp starts. And they're like, hey, we've obviously found, some money scholarship, we want, Kiy to come. And at the time, all my boys from back home. So I'm like, I'm going to just stay. Like I lived, literally my backyard where I lived in Bloomfield was like the stadium. So I could hear the games like in my house, like at the night games, like, I'm talking about like if I walk through my backyard, I walk through like a little bridge, like I was at the high school field. So it was like, and then one of my good friends who ended up going with me to Rutgers was actually played baseball at Rutgers. So his dad was the head coach and still the head coach there now. He actually coaches on the staff. So I'm just like, it was an easy transition. Our eighth grade team basketball, we're like our 2 years in middle school, 54-3. So we had athletes, and my boys, three out of five of our starters end up starting varsity as freshmen. So, that was the class that was, supposed to bring Bloomfield back, prominence. And, they end up losing in the overtime in the state championship to Montclair this senior year. So and ended up having, I think section basketball final. So, our class was really loaded, but my mom felt like, going to DePaul was an opportunity that, I'm second, second youngest of six. So none of my siblings played. So she just felt like that opportunity I wasn't going to get, especially if, we didn't have the money like that. So if, scholarship was going to allow me to go there, like I should take that opportunity. So I did. So I went in, I didn't even go in playing football at first. I was playing basketball, in the gym doing summer workouts with Coach Mack. He just kept coming in the gym bothering me, like, oh, I heard you're a good football player. I heard you're a good football player. But at the time, in my head, I'm going to the NBA. So I'm like,
Right.
basketball, I'm just like full, I played travel players for a year straight. So, I was, got my skills right. So, and one day he finally, he's like, hey, like really good at football. So I'm like, all right, I go to the meeting room, first freshman, first time in there. So this is like maybe the second week of camp. So I come in, the whole room got quiet. And, talking to all my boys now, they were like, oh, we thought you were a coach when you walked in. Because I was so tall. So the whole room, got quiet. So I went sat in the back, and then obviously they introduced me. And, the first couple of days practicing, I didn't even have cleats. I was, running around with basketball shoes, but, I was doing my thing. And then, that happened. So we go, I think, third game of the season playing West Milford. I have 3 punt returns in the first half, and then I see Coach Mack like going like this to the head coach. Was like, and then that following week, our starting quarterback, who was playing corner as well, ended up like high ankle sprain, and right there I was starting varsity as a freshman. So took my bumps and bruises, out there, fast and I could play, but just not trusting myself, just not a lot of experience, and especially going from freshman to varsity, the game speed, it's a huge difference. Saturday I'm playing freshman, and then Friday night, I'm in a crazy game. I think we're playing Demorest. They had I forget the kid's name. They had like a big tight end, and they just kept throwing posts. They just throwing posts, and he was just boxing me out. I think he went to Boston College. I forget his name. He was
Yeah, I know you're talking
my
about.
freshman year. He was like 6'6", and I was frustrated just because he wasn't better than me, wasn't faster than me. He was just literally they running posts, deep posts, just boxed me out in the corner. We playing off man, and I just couldn't stop it. And that was like my first welcome to varsity, and I was like, man, I gotta sharpen my tools. You know what I mean? So then that happened in the sophomore year. Oh, actually, it's a funny story. So they moved me up. I was supposed to play offense and defense, and ended up not playing. So my coach, not playing offense. So I was, pissed at Max. So that whole spring leading up to football, I was like, I'm not playing I'm not playing football. I'm like, I'm only playing basketball. He's in the gym, bother me. My gym teacher, I'm kind of like giving him the cold shoulder. And then basketball season starts. First game, I get offered from Rutgers in Boston College for football after seeing my basketball game. Started basketball freshman too. And then I'm like, oh, I'm playing football. I'm like, after that, I'm like, yeah, I need to. And then that's when I met EJ, and he had ETS, but he was training at overtime in Wayne. And then from there, I locked in for football, and then I was still playing basketball, but I'm like, I got 2 offers, big offers, and as a freshman, you're like eyes bright. I'm like, yeah. Next day, I'm like training with the team football. I'm like, yeah, I'm playing football. So had a good career. Went to Miami, and then obviously my mom got sick, things like that. So then I transferred back home to Rutgers, and then you know coaching changes, do that different stuff. Just an up and down journey, but have fun, did the things I needed to do on the field, and then eventually finish. And that's what we were talking about before, just that transition of college, to the real world. It was a tough adjustment. Luckily, I have my close friends from DePaul, guys that I played with. They had a restaurant. So I did that. I was bartending, serving, like, what I mean? Kind of like restarted my life, like kind of back at the bottom, and like kind of like humbling experience. So that kind of, I was like, after, Rutgers, we didn't do too well my last couple of years. So I had like a bad taste in my mouth with football. So I was just like, kind of was like, I stepped away from football. It really wasn't, I played like, I was living in Bayonne, played in like a flag league, and I'm like, started to bring my love back. And then eventually, I was back and forth with camp, for the last couple of years trying to get on the staff. They had a full staff. So, just trying to figure out the right way. And then obviously this year I got the opportunity to join the staff. And, just having an amazing time, with some amazing guys. So it's been a fun journey from, playing into, college, high school, transitioning into now coaching, and now, walking the hallways, being in the same locker room I was in on the same field, just me trying to give these guys jewels of, some of the little things that they could take and I didn't know or have, like a mentor or a big brother that was in this position or like someone that went through this process. I was in high school, I was taking visits, either Coach Murray at the time or by myself, what I mean, kind of traveling and just figuring it out as you go. So, there's a lot of things, trying to help them navigate now, NIL, different things that I didn't have. So just trying to give them the knowledge, what I mean, to pass that down.
The NIL, yeah, it's a huge change from
Whew.
when you were playing.
Crazy.
It's crazy the opportunities from that standpoint. What was so when you kind of transitioned from being a basketball player and kind of moving that dream to football, what were some of the things some of the challenges that you had, like from a mindset standpoint, in order to take yourself to the next level from a football standpoint?
Well, I think with basketball, obviously, you're tough, fast, but I think, me being a corner and safety and like, having, obviously offense is fun and like, everyone wants to catch the ball and score. But, I had to talk with my coaches early and they were like, if you really, want to excel and take, go further, like you're going to be a defensive guy. So I think just changing my mentality of, you got to have a loose screw and like, you got to be, a different type of guy to be on defense, especially at a high level. And as a safety, controlling the back end and, just getting everyone online and then also, playing with aggression. Like I pride myself on being tough and physical. So I think that point of just changing my mentality of, kind of basketball court, you can't run around tackling guys and, you obviously it's more finesse. So I think really my mentality of, hey, like if I'm going to be a guy on the back end and controlling things at a high level, like, I got to be a little nut job and, play a little screws. So I think just kind of tapping into that, like when I'm on the field, like just be a maniac, like, you know what I mean? And I think that was probably the biggest thing, just changing your mentality of, finesse on the hardwood and then going to football, you're in pads and you just hit everything moving. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big transition. But of course, being a basketball player, also naturally, when you're playing safety and being able to, go after the ball, I think that's being a ball hawk and playing basketball certainly helps with that. Makes
100% lateral movement, and I was started at corner. So, I mean? I was just like playing defense, shuffling, reading the guy's hips. So I think it just correlated easier to, from basketball, I mean? I wasn't our top guy, but I would always cover the best players. So, I kind of took pride in defense already, even on the basketball court, even before I got to Depaul, I was, oh, this is the guy, I'll kick eyes on him and just, match up. And even once in football, things like that, we got, different matchups. Like I would be the one to like, and I would take the ownership of like, hey, I want to cover this guy, like put me on him. You know what I mean? And I think that helped me as well. I'm very competitive. And like, if you ask anyone I play with, I'm always the first one, talking junk to everyone, hyping the team up. And that was, what I thrived at. I think that helped me play better and faster.
no doubt about it. What was the experience like when you went from going from Miami to going to Rutgers, and then who did you play for when you were at Rutgers? Who
You played for Ash, right, Coach?
Ash?
Right,
Who's
Coach?
I had Flood 2 years, and then
Flood. Okay,
That's right. That's right.
Everything happened, and then bunch of guys, that's the whole staff got fired. So then I had Ash for my last 3 years.
Okay. So that was probably two different experiences as well.
I can imagine. Definitely.
Night and day.
Night and day, meaning Flood was more positive and Ash was negative, or which
I just think two different styles. Flood was he's a player's. He's a player's coach. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's a guy.
You can see that.
Sit in his office and just talk life.
Have a conversation.
You know what I mean? Conversation.
Yep.
And Ash, I wouldn't say was a bad experience. It was just different. He was an X&O guy. Definitely, he's a defensive back coach and, defensive minded. So there's a lot of X&Os, but like, he knew coming in, to a program where you don't recruit all these guys, but he actually recruited me when he was at Arkansas at Billima, and I think Wisconsin early in my high school career. But you don't bring in these guys onto your guys, so it's just a different experience. And coming from O State, I think his expectations a little higher, coming from, they just won a national championship, and then coming to us where we're, figuring things out. First 2 years in the Big Ten, like, I mean,
there was that was a lot of transition. Yeah, and that was a lot of transition too. Yep. And because he was also, you're going from Flood, who was with Coach Schiano, right? And had Jersey ties. Correct. It was very similar mentality. He knew the guys in Jersey. Now Coach Ash comes in. He's not from here.
Guy from Iowa. It's a different language.
Yeah, it's just, listen, the Northeast is very different, dude. It's like, and Jersey itself.
Like, a lot of people you can't relate. If you're in, and especially if you're not around it enough, it's like almost, you come off as arrogant or like, just not easy liked, as just because of our attitude and our toughness. And I think that's one thing, blue collar and Jersey football is we're tough, and a lot of people take it as us being cocky or take it the wrong way, and it don't rub people the right way. So
I think also 100%. I think
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Jersey athletes too. Just because of where you grow up in New Jersey, like they have the ability to like be tough and a hard ass 1 minute and be laughing the next minute. And that's weird for some people outside of this area. Like people are a lot of times are one way or the other, like more of a hard ass or more of like loose, but in New Jersey, because of the personalities that people have there and the way they grow up, they're able to be really, really tough. And then all of a sudden be like able to laugh and crack jokes.
Yeah,
people who sometimes have a hard time understanding that outside of New Jersey because they don't really know like how to take it. You know what I mean? They don't know how to take. Like, is he like fun loving or is he like a hard ass? Like, what is he? And it's and you probably know that too, like going down to Miami too, right? And playing down there, like it's a different world. And what's so interesting to me is that Flood obviously understood that. I'm sure Schiano understands that. And Flood was an offensive guy more of. So with the defensive guys, my guess is like those were the guys he was gonna be more like relaxed with, because the guys that he was on top of probably more of those linemen, and that was always his thing, the line. And
he was a line guy.
Kiy was in the limelight because, like, I mean, you're getting a deep when Ash came in, defensive guy, especially defensive backs, like even more so. Like, defensive guy is one thing, but he was the D-backs guy. That's like, you know what I mean? So, Dave, you've seen, right? Like, so the head coach always flocks to a group, right? Like, there's always like Saban was a DB guy too, right? Like, he would be working with the DBs, or like Flood was an offensive line guy. He's always going to be hanging around the offensive line. And the other part, Kiy, that I think is like really is that like Ash came in and you were already there, right? So even though he recruited you at a different school, he didn't recruit you to Rutgers. So that's already a different type of, hey, I kind of got to earn this guy's trust, or, whatever it is. We're always looking for that fulfillment of, hey, how do I get to be this guy? When in reality, some coaches, you might never be that guy ever, right? Because you're just not a guy he would have recruited if that was him. And I think the other part too, the transition into the Big Ten is a huge thing that I don't think many people talk about. Now you're going from the old Big East and playing those certain teams to now be in the first couple years within this monster. I mean, we're talking like, people argue back and forth with who's the best conference in the country type of thing, where your Rutgers already kind of going into it at the bottom, right? Because Rutgers football, like, hey, all right, you're coming in here and like, you're not Ohio State, you're not Penn State, right? Like, why are you guys even here? That whole thing, I think, is just a different monster that you had to deal with within the roster itself, on top of Flood and them leaving in a manner that is painted a certain way in the media, right? Like, so everybody is kind of looking at like, right, it's a negative thing,
and
you know.
So, and then right, we're in the Big Ten East, right? So we're playing our division games. Maybe 5 of them are ranked in the top 25.
Yeah.
3 or 4 of them are in the top 10. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then, like you said, the way that Floyd got fired was in bad fashion. So Ash, he came in automatically, like which is understandable.
Yeah.
That there's a problem in the program. Like, I got to get rid of
Correct.
guys.
He came in. Yeah. Yep. So he came in and it's like, look, this is an undisciplined program. I have off the field problems. I need to come in with a hammer. And on top, like, he is already that type of guy. Like, his coaching style is that hammer. Like, this is how we do it. I'm a defensive guy, right? So now, on top of him already being that, he thinks, hey, I come in and swing this hammer even harder because I got a bunch of renegades off the field. Like, like we got problems in the line in the world. We don't have like football, yeah, but like we got to worry about all that. So him coming in with that hammer probably just added to the whole thing.
And as a player,
when you were there,
looking at it, when I was there as a player, I'm like, why is this guy? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand.
Of course.
You know what I mean? I was a coach and, leading young men and wanting to set the right example. He had to come in and do that and emphasize this culture, which, no one knew. And obviously no one played for him. So
absolutely.
She kind of was like, basically like, I'm going to weed in the guys that I want here. And then I want to get rid of, which at the time, was like in a way,
and in a way, when he came in, he probably looked at all of you on the roster in one fashion, right? Like, all of these guys are problems off the field. I need to bring in my guys who are going to listen, do the things the way I want to do it, all of that thing. So you guys were already like, behind in terms of being his guys.
And then
until he watched you play, and then it was like, oh, this guy's okay.
And then, he's already, coming in comparing us to O State where we don't have those numbers. We don't have 3 depth chart with 3 5-stars back to back. So, it was just a whole, a different experience. And I feel like it didn't go as positive and great as he would like, but hey, Shiano came back, kind of restored the tradition, and then, Ash is a DC at Notre Dame. So
I know it kind of worked out. Look, and I think he was at Texas, right? Didn't he go to Texas before?
He was at Texas. He was with the Raiders, D-backs coach. So he didn't usually coaching.
It didn't. Yeah, his career is okay.
Usually when coaches, they don't win or they don't do the thing they do, they usually find a job through connections and things like that. So,
I mean, you've been through a bunch of coaches. I mean, you've been in that world, right? Like, just being
at. They usually land on their feet. Yeah, they usually land on their feet.
Right. I mean, and let's think about it. You could probably track your coaches from every one of your stops, not just your position coach, but like everybody on the staff. And you could go and connect dots and be like, wow, this guy was a freaking GN. He's the head coach at Harvard. Or
my DB coaches that was with us, the DB coach at LSU. Like, these guys, I think one of the O-line coaches was somewhere like big, I think Illinois. So, like, like Arsikowski's the quarterback is the quarterback coach at Illinois doing great job recruiting. So
that's the other part. Guys you played with that got into that field, right? Like they're already elevated and whatnot.
Two kids that I played with in high school. Shamir Beerford is the head coach at St. Thomas, and then who else? My boy is the head coach at Hudson that played at Tech.
Yep.
And he ended up playing at Lafayette. So those guys that I play with that are head coaches right now. So everyone's journey is different for sure.
No doubt about it. Everybody's journey is absolutely different, and I think too, one of the things when you go through those things, it makes you a better coach because you kind of know how it feels when you have change and how you felt as a player and the things you liked and the things you didn't like and the things you learned from, and it helps you when you got to coach kids and help them kind of understand that process because you went through a little bit and I think that's a real important thing for I think it makes a lot of times really good coaches. If you had if it was so easy in college and you just everything was just peaches and cream and you just went right to the top, it'd be hard to figure out some of the things that you had to work on or some of the things that you had to go through. So and then relate that to kids you got to coach. And so I think that it helps you from that standpoint. Talk a little bit about like your transition to coaching and some of the things that you've really like found rewarding from that standpoint.
Well, coaching, I feel like the biggest, transition is just understanding, kids and teaching kids. You know what I mean? All kids learn different and at different pace. So I may have to draw something for a kid, draw something up so he can see it rather than explain it or, give them the landmarks or techniques. You know what I mean? Right now I'm coaching corners. So just understanding that all my players, I can't coach the same, which, every kid, may learn faster, slower, and learn different ways. And I think that's the biggest thing. And then also just, watching film now and just breaking things down now, corners, but, also signal the play. So just understanding, what everyone's doing. And that's what I thought that safety, because, I was the type of guy on the back end. Like I want to know what everyone's doing on the defense. So if a play, a mishap happens or something happens, I know exactly why, okay, this guy shot, spills when he was supposed to box, or this guy, was outside when he's supposed to fit inside. And as a safety, I
was the same way.
Getting guys lined up, and I was meticulous about it. And I think my senior year, Coach Depaul, he helped me with that, with the film, of breaking things down and knowing like, hey, this is just a rhyme and reason for our defense and our philosophy of ball, and why we're going to line up in this way because of this, or hey, we're going to do this to stop this. And that was a big always ask questions like, hey, why are we going to run cover three? Like, what are we running cover three to stop? Or what is the weakness in cover three? And you know what I mean? And then now, okay, I know, hey, cover three to flats, you know what I mean? Or hey, cover two to middle. So like, different things like that. And I take that to coaching, like trying to prepare these guys like, hey, this team runs verticals. Hey, when we're in this, the middle of the field may be open. So, we got to be constant and aware of this. Hey, we're in cover three, comeback, curls, hitches, hey, they might catch that, but go and tackle it. So I think, just understanding the game, and then now trying to teach that to the players, that a lot of it is X and O's, but it's situational as well. You got to have football awareness. And I think a lot of kids, nowadays, sometimes they don't watch a lot of football, playing the game.
No, they don't.
A lot of them, like I was watching football. I was, watching highlights. I'm in the house, on YouTube, just watching different players. Like, that was Tyrann Mathieu was my favorite back, watching him, Patrick Peterson, like all these crazy DBs that I'm just like trying to pick up tendencies and learn from through, watching their games and films. Like, hey, man, I got to do this. So when I see, this guy runs an end, I could jump this, and just learning. I wasn't the fastest guy, but I feel like I probably myself being the smartest, and so my angles were better. So I knew like, hey, if he's running a post, if I, meet him here instead of, trying to go for the ball, I may have a big hit or interception. And I think, that allowed me to play faster as well. Just knowing I knew my position and I knew where to be, like where I was going to end up, so that when the time came that I could make a play or be in a good position to make a play.
And ultimately, Kiy, like being coached by a coach like Coach Depaul, who really breaks it down to a way for you to understand, allowed you as a safety, because I was the exact same way as a safety, wasn't the biggest, wasn't the fastest, but definitely prided myself on being able to know everything. And that helped me as a player. If I knew the linebacker was here, I could be here, or hey, I know that corner's good at take away that, I can now jump this. That is going to, and that was what made transitioning to coaching a little easier for me, because now you knew the pieces of the puzzle and where they needed to kind of fit in. Whereas there's a lot of guys out there, Kiy, and I'm sure you've experienced it, Dave and I have, that play one position from the time they're 6 years old, and that's all they know. They don't know football outside of whatever position it is that they played. And there's other guys that are just, gifted when it comes to speed, athleticism, right? Like they just have those tangibles that they've gotten away their entire career on, hey, I can get beat because I'm fast enough to catch up and make the play. Or, you know what I mean? Those types of skills, where you, on the other hand, you're the quarterback on the defense. guys lined up, that's going to help you so much more in coaching, because now you can coach that way and teach those guys like Coach DePalma kind of taught you. I think that's like such a big thing that I don't think a lot of coaches now, younger coaches, understand that. And it's difficult.
It's different, because I poke fun at the players now, you know what I mean? Just because when I played, and we were obviously the smaller Catholic school, so a lot of us went both ways, special teams. And
yeah. You weren't. Hey, listen, you went back to a different DePaul. You went back to a different DePaul, right?
A lot of those schools, have guys that play offense and defense, and once Coach Camp came, he like the last couple of years, he's done that, and where we had guys that play offense and defense. So I'm always poking fun like, oh, you guys, I was different. Like I didn't leave the field. Like, you know what I mean? This is like me trying to push these guys to hype them up. Like, hey, like, you know what I mean? Just give more. Empty your tank. When I was here,
of course,
starting every special team. I was catching passes. I was, on the back end, returning kicks. So like anything I could do to help the team win. And that's what I'm trying to steal in these guys. That like, you got to just put your body on the line and just give effort at everything when you're on the field. Because you never know, especially the senior. Like I said, I didn't win until obviously my senior year at DePaul, and and we set the precedent for the next 10 years where we won 6 or 7 championships. So I just feel like
you did
the right way. So you kind of got to do you got to do things differently and just sell out. You know what I mean?
No doubt about it. I think that's a big thing, is like helping people to understand that and getting them to push themselves to the next level. What are some of the things that like you like to relate from like your own experiences and things that you had to learn to players that you might coach? Like what are some of the important like values you want them to understand?
Some of the biggest values, I try to preach is just being coachable. Like if I'm correcting you, I might get on you. It's not because, yelling at you, though, I hate this kid. No, it's because I see the mistakes you're making, and I don't want you, I always used to say, and even in college, repeat offender. Like, I'll tell you once, right? Correct it, and then that should be the last time that I should correct it. Obviously, easier said than done, but now if I'm telling you every day, going to game, I'm telling you the same corrections, and you're making the same thing. Now it's like, you got to understand that at this level, you can't, if they see one thing on film and then a coach is so good in this league that they're going to go back and attack it. So you have to correct it the first time, and then now be cognizant of, hey, like I did this rep 5, rep 20, I can't do the same mistake from rep 5. And I think just, still on that, and then just understanding also football is short-term memory loss. So, you might give up a play, you might miss a tackle, but now go make that next play better than your last play. And I think, a lot of kids, mentally, sometimes the capacity of, them, their feelings, they're all over the place. So
right,
miss a play, now you're down for now they're down in there for 2 quarters, and now that, goes from you missed a tackle to give them a touchdown. And like, now that could lead to you taking yourself out the game, and then eventually as a coach, you're like, hey, I'm gonna have to pull you. And now, you let one event, control the rest of your game. So just getting them to understand that, football's a long game. Like we just played in Maryland, we were down 21-0 at half, and we ended up
came back
and then losing, extra point, and just even our kicker, just hey, you're gonna win us a game this year. So take that, learn from it. And I was telling those guys, look at the score, like feel this field, like understand it, and like make sure this feeling hurt, because you don't want to feel this again. And now, I related to my senior year where you beat Paramus and then lost to PC. Depaul and those guys were flying around and they beat us, and we were, heartbroken. Senior year, our season's over, and then I think we rattled off like 8 straight. We lost 1 more to Joe's, and then we won the state championship. So, saying everyone's journey, last year they I think they won every game, lost to Del Bar in the last game, and then won the championship. So, you're going to take the lumps and bruises, but it's just how you respond to it. And that's the biggest thing, just having them respond the right way when, things aren't going our way, or things, plays, they may not make a play, miss a play, but it's how you respond to it.
Well, that's a big point of being able to respond, and you guys showed that obviously in coming back, and keeping them to be able to do that over and over again, because high school kids, I think that's the hardest thing, is even when they're really good athletes, like something doesn't go their way, getting them to keep coming back, like you talked about, and keep fighting, because there's always another play. And you talked about that short memory. Like, that's one of the things you probably learn as a defensive back. Like, if you get in your own head,
God, yeah.
Yeah, if you get in your own head, it's over, right? So,
it's gonna call the next 3 or 4 plays. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not gonna allow you to do that because you're still dwelling on what happened, back there, and those plays are gonna happen.
No, 100%.
Yep, and I think that's a real important thing. What do you see as some of the, like, so as someone who played at the highest level, what are some of the things that you're seeing in football, like as far as trends with players and things that they're looking for, and some of the things that you advise kids from let's say a recruiting standpoint as they go forward, like college camps and those kind of things. What do you try to help kids with? Because what it was like back when you were coming out is completely different now. Like the whole recruiting
it's not even close.
I think, the big thing is just putting good things on film. You know what I mean? I think body language is a big thing, and just coaches, seeing you on film, on special teams, doing different things. Like, everyone wants to, put out their film off of the defense, but I think, coaches now, they value, you playing other positions, even like we say, Coach Schuman said, being position flexible. Like, hey, you may be a safety, but we may need you to play corner. We may need you to play, outside linebacker. And I think putting that on film and showing that, hey, like, I'll do whatever to help the team win will allow them to go further. And then I think a lot of guys, expectations of, everyone wants to go D1, but that's not the reality. And, it's 1% goes D1, or maybe even less. I don't know the percentage now, but a lot of kids got to understand that, their level of ball and where, their ceiling is, and some guys may have a higher ceiling. They may not be as good as you now. They may get offers and you may be above them, but your ceiling may be lower. So you got to have the right expectations. Then you can't listen to, outside noise of people like, hey, like, you got to be D1 to be great. No, they'll find great players all over. So I think, just going somewhere where you're loved and they want to coach you and you're going to play, you know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing, finding a great staff and a great school. At the end of the day, football may be over. I've seen guys, get hurt first year, second year, and now they're just going to school. So, go somewhere where, the campus is fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, outside of football, you can enjoy it.
God, that's great advice, right, Dave? Like, coming from a guy that's been through it, like, he literally hit on, Kiy, you hit literally the main points that we talk about all the time. The mission flexibility, right? Or the realistic expectations, especially with the way the transfer portal is now. Guys, you have the ability to go up if you can go and show out, and you feel like you were maybe missed coming out of high school, right? Like, you have that opportunity to go and play, or off the field. You look at even your situation, right? Like, you go to Miami, all of a sudden mom gets sick, like, hey, I'm coming home, right? Like, those realistic expectations, or go to a place that the main one that I love, Dave, that Kiy talked about, is go where you're wanted and where you're gonna play. Right? Because you don't want to go to a staff that you're kind of forcing their hand and you're at the bottom of that list. Like, why do you want to be that guy for the next 4 years where every little thing that you don't do right, because you're going to do a lot of things that are wrong, right? And they're going to just, well, that's why we didn't want to recruit them to begin with, go to a place where they
highlight your mistakes for. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Go to and then the playing time, right? Because, I mean, look, you started from the time you were a freshman, you go to college, and now you're not playing. That is a huge thing for guys that some guys can't handle being on the scout team. Right. Like,
no,
exactly. You're
and I registered it. So I was telling guys, I was on scout team at Rutgers, and I was close to hell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Gary was the quarterback. We had Deontay, we had guys. Like, we had NFL dudes, so I was taking it serious, and that they would sometimes get pissed off at me, and I'm like, these are my games. Like, you guys practice all weekend and go play. Like, when you guys go play, I'm sitting on the sideline or I'm home. I couldn't even travel.
Yeah,
so I'm
helping to recruit a guy on campus. That's what I'm doing during your games, right? Like, I'm helping recruit. I'm walking guys around, or doing this or doing that.
The best player on defense, whatever position. I'm blitzing off the edge, dropping back. I'm like, I took pride in it just because those were my games. Practice, against the ones every day. It was fun. It was like it got me better, and I think that helped just to transition to college because I had a whole year of just practicing against our starters for a whole year.
Yep. Practice, lift, eat. Practice, lift, eat.
Some people don't understand that development, like having the whole year. Yeah, no, and that's all I did. I left after practice. I didn't have a game, so Friday I'm getting an extra lift because there's walkthroughs, getting ready to either leave or go to the hotel, and then Saturday morning, even before the game, I could get an extra lift, get some field work in, and it was just an extra year to get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and that's very hard for players to understand, especially now.
So hard.
In the transfer portal era. It's like and NIL and the balance between developing and getting on the field. It's not easy to make those decisions. And obviously now they can get money, which we all would have loved to have back when we were playing.
I would have just taken. Listen, that Pell Grant used to be a real fun day, right? That Pell Grant was a lot.
Me and my little brother was talking about that. We thought we was millionaires with the program. Imagine
we was balling.
Yeah. With the money we was the brother went to Nebraska. We were just talking about this the other day. We had a little party for my son, and he was just like, we would have been like, we thought the 4,000, 3,000 was crazy. These guys are getting six figures. And it's like, I'm happy. Hating definitely a little bit, but happy for the guys. Definitely a little salty though.
I agree.
Are you in that window though, Kiy? Are you gonna get? Are you in the window of back payments? Like you're gonna get? Are you gonna get something? Like because I think you're in that window, right? Of those years.
Like 3 years. Yeah, like 3. I got 3 years of it, so a little back pay, but nothing compared to these players. But
man, these guys. Now, Kiy, let me ask you something personally.
So I'll take a penny from them.
Kiy, let me ask you a question. If you're at DePaul Catholic now and you're being recruited, it seems like a stupid question, but would NIL factor into your college decision? Where would that be on your list of, hey, I'm going to go to this school because they can pay me this? Would that have factored in for you personally?
I would say it would be like top 5. It wouldn't be my top. I wouldn't be like greedy. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going to the highest bidder because that never works out, and usually, sometimes the highest bidder isn't the right coach in the right place. So I think it would like accumulation of different things of the coaching, where I want to play, campus, and the funds. But I think it would be in top 5 for sure. Obviously I want to get people, but I think coaching scheme wise, I was coming out. I really was supposed to go to Michigan State, but so be there by the time I graduated, which he ended up, go. I think a few different things would have came into place, but overall, yeah.
No, there's no. Sense. I mean, listen, it always plays a role. It's going to play a role. It's hard, and it's hard to know, like when you're young, like it's hard to know what your 18-year-old self would be thinking along those lines, which is what makes it also makes it very, 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 very difficult. And I think it's one of the things that it is such a difficult thing right now. You look at Michigan, for example, right? Like a bad game by with the quarterback Underwood. $10 million. And
Portnoy. He's getting Barstool money.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Immediately there's talks about like
they like take it back.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, is he gonna stay? Right? They're like, is he gonna stay? So that part is I think a lot of pressure on players because if you take the money, if you go just for the money or primarily for the money, and you're not there for the other part of it, because like he was originally going to LSU, and then and if you think to yourself, oh man, I should have went to LSU and taken a little bit less. As soon as that creeps in your head, it makes it very, very difficult for a young person, in my opinion, at 18 years old. Like, I wouldn't have been equipped to be able to handle any of those kind of things when I was 18.
No.
So
God,
you know, I don't know if I could be equipped to handle it right now at 51. So
no way. There's no way. Absolutely not.
So so that's a difficult situation. And then you have the same, and obviously quarterbacks are different in the sense that they're getting different dollar levels than everybody else, but they're getting like pro level expectations on them, meaning without the maturity of a pro level player, you have those pro level expectations on you, like to perform every single week. Like there's no such thing as like, you have a bet, as like, I guess the beauty of the old world was, coach might be real mad at you or bench you if you didn't perform well, and you might have some of the fan base mad at you, but it wouldn't be like people would be coming at you like they would now. And that's, I think that blocking out the noise is probably a much harder thing now for younger athletes,
especially with social media.
Like
Say that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, social media is another beast too. Social media,
it's a whole nother beast.
Well, I think that a lot of fan bases look at like now, rather than, hey, he's just a kid, you know what I mean? Like he's whatever. Now you put those dollars attached to a player. He's basically, hey, we're paying this guy as a college athlete. Like he better perform to the level that we're paying him. And you've seen some of these situations where guys go, they take the money, it doesn't work out, they leave, they bounce, and it's like now they're getting bashed on social media. And irregardless of whether you block it out or not, you're going to see that stuff, or someone's going to tell you about, hey, so-and-so said this about you. That's a lot of pressure for a kid who's literally just trying to figure out how to do his laundry, right? I mean, that's really, really difficult. And attach those dollar signs to it. And once you take it, here we go.
Talking about like, oh, player got to reimburse this school and the donors. This.
Yeah. And you have like it's a free agency every single year. It's wild. It's very hard. It's probably very hard for you guys because you coach such high level players for high school, right? That the conference you guys are in, the type of players that you guys all have, and then you got coaches that are recruiting these kids, and these kids are trying to figure it out, and then they ask you, and it's like, woof, it's like. It's almost like the difference between college and high school before was like, okay, if pro scouts are coming around for you, you were like truly legit as big time as it comes. But when they're coming around with high school and possibly with money, and you don't have the same advisors that you have at the pro level, which is also, I think, a very, very, very difficult thing, because the NIL is like, you don't have to be like a certified NFL agent, and you don't have to go through those kind of things to be an NIL agent. You could just be any guy that's helping somebody get a deal. So that's always a hard part. But I think if players keep the main thing playing and doing good in school, they're going to put themselves in a situation to have those opportunities. So, and just stay level-headed. Like that's always a big thing, staying level-headed, and just, if you keep focusing on the same things you focused on when you're trying to be the best player, if they focus on those things, then the rest will take care of itself, and they'll figure out the right opportunities, so, but
100%. Kiy, I know you Dave, Kiy, you have a meeting, right? Hard out.
Yeah, I gotta shoot to a work meeting.
Yep.
All good, buddy. All good. Listen,
I told there I want to come back, talk ball. I could do this all day. So,
man, it's so, listen, Dave, we got one. He's in it now. Like Kiy, you drank the Coach,
I know,
buddy. Like, and now you're in it, man. So listen, we appreciate you taking the time. Good luck with everything. Tell the rest of those guys that we said good luck. And listen, we'll have you back, and we can talk some X's and O's and all that kind of stuff. Appreciate the time, man. Good luck, man.
Oh hell,
keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing.
Thanks, Kiy.
All right, bye.
All right, man.
That was great.
Dude, hit on some really, really great points that I think our viewers hearing it from somebody who's been through it, right? About choosing the right school, where to go, right? Like that transition from, just coaching staff and all those, the stuff that you're going to see if you want to be that high level player, coming from a guy who's literally went through it in high school, went through it in college, right? Like he dealt with wasn't even a football guy, right? So we see that transition of like, hey, now you're a football guy. I mean, that's like to hear it from him firsthand. And even though, he wasn't an NIL guy, he's removed from it for a little bit, but now you can see like what it really is all about coming from somebody who's been, boots on the ground dealing with it. And man, he was a hell of a player, dude. Like he was a phenomenal player. And even when he made that move from Miami to Rutgers, people were, oh, well, you couldn't hack it at Miami or whatever. Nobody knows situations of things that happen off the field. And life comes into play. And still, coaching transition while he's at Rutgers and still has a really, really good career. But the one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand, Dave, because obviously we went through it, is finding what life is like after football. When those dreams of NFL and high level, whatever are gone, what do I do now? Right? Like, yeah, I have a degree, but that doesn't fulfill running down on kickoff. That doesn't fulfill working out and prepared to be a starter. That is a really, really scary time. Like, and I'm sure you can attest to it. I know I went through that phase of like, what the hell do I do now? Right. Especially for me too, because I had to go an extra semester at school. So I had to go to fall for a fall semester of like being on campus, but not playing football. Really, really like a lot of mental fortitude needed to be done to be like, what do I do now, man? Like, what's my calling? Where, how do I set new goals that aren't football goals? Like, that's a lot of pressure and a lot of like, so hard, man. It is so hard.
I was glad that for me I was a little lucky in the sense I was in the MBA program. So my 5th year I was already in grad school. So I had graduated in 4, so I was already in grad school. So I was there an extra year not playing, but it was a little weird. I'll agree with it. Like when you go out to the bar and everyone's like, hey,
and these guys are like, hey, I'm out. Right. Yeah. Or like, hey, I'm leaving because I got, you're sitting there like, hey, I'm good. Like, what time? You're like, hey, let's get after it. And they're like, hey, we have a game in 2 days. Like, I can't get after it like you want to. Or just walking across campus, guys, like, why do I have a class today at 1:00 when I should be going to practice? Right. Like that was
weird.
I
used to have a class in the early afternoon when they would be practicing when I was done.
And I'm like, oh shit.
I did enjoy the free time. I did enjoy the free time. I'd say that.
I think for me was not so much in season because I think I was prepared to like not put on a helmet ever again or not have day to day. It was the off season of, hey, I'm normally working out right now, like really, really hard. And I don't need to get up at 6 a.m. and get a workout in. Or even just the workouts in general. I don't need to be doing heavy hang cleans for no reason. What am I doing here? Right? Like I can remember my boss, because I was working at a gym at the time. He's like, dude, you're not playing football anymore. You don't need to you don't need to have 315 on the squat rack anymore, dude. Like you never have to do that shit again. And it was like, that's interesting, right? Like, I don't think I ever have to do hang cleans again, right? Like, it was just weird because I didn't know. I had always worked out to be a football player. I had never worked out to like stay healthy or, look good. I worked out to play football. the only reason I was in the gym, it was just
That's
mentally really, really freaking weird. Why do you think you see so many O linemen like drop a bunch of weight when they stop playing? And then DBs, go the other way, right? Like I can play tackle now. Like it's kind of interesting how that whole thing works. But the mental side of that, it's like, hey, or like for you, you're still on. Like, why aren't you playing your 5th year, Dave? You're like, well, I'm done, dude. Like this is what it is. You know what I mean? Or I'm just going to school. Like to be was eye opening too. You know what I mean? Like, wait, this is how the other half lives. That was a whole different freaking ball game,
Well, that's definitely a huge thing.
I felt great. My body felt great. Right? I'm like, oh my God.
It took me about shit. It took a little bit of time, but I would say within 6 months, I would say I felt pretty good. I was like, wow, no headache. Oh, that's interesting. I was like,
I was like, oh my God, both hands work. Like my thumbs are working. Like this is amazing. Oh my God, I don't have my ankles aren't like, I don't have to get taped every day. Like what this is, I did coach that first year. I remember it was a really, really hard transition into coaching because obviously I still felt like I could play. Right. And I can remember I was coaching for Coach Matt Sakis at the time at Butler, helping out. And he's like, look, man, like he took me aside one day and he's like, dude, I love the energy, the fire, like that. I wanted you here for that. He's like, but you have to realize now, like you're a coach and the playing aspect, like you have to just look at it through different lenses. He goes, and I totally understand where you're at because we've all been there. And this first year of coaching will be the hard year for you to now understand why sometimes when you're coaching, guys just can't do what you could do, right? And that's just part of coaching. I'm not going to get guys like that. You have to understand and look at it through a different lens. And, you got to be a teacher of it, right? Like you got to understand it. That's where I think Kiy excel faster than others is because he was a cerebral player in terms of, hey, I want to know what the entire defense is doing around me, not just my position. So I think that's going to help him, accelerate that. And plus, I mean, look at the staff that he's on, man. Like he's around really good coaches. He's coaching at a high level of ball in high school. That's going to help a shit ton. And then obviously the off the field, he's going to help them with that. Be like, hey guys, to this school and then I went to this school and I dealt with a coaching change and this is kind of how it goes. And, he can navigate that world. Plus, I think he said his brother's at Nebraska with EJ. So that's cool to kind of be plugged into that world. But man, when I saw him on the sideline and then
coach, did he say? Is that what it was?
I think his brother's playing at Nebraska.
Brother's playing. Okay.
I think so. And we know we didn't get to talk to him about it. Like he was the original high school transfer portal guy. You know what I mean? He's got 3 state titles, people, by the way. 3 state titles at 2 different schools because he was at one for sophomore year, a different one for junior, and another one back to senior year, and he won 3 state titles. So the kid can play ball, and everywhere he went, like it was around him. But I remember him at Rutgers with Ash when that happened. It was like, hey man, are you like yourself? Because like, you know what I mean? Like you're dealing with a lot of that stuff. I mean, you dealt with it, coaching change within it. I dealt with it before I even got on Sacred Heart. I got a phone call in June and said, hey, the head coach just took a job at Villanova, but the defensive staff is going to stay together. So do you still want to come here? Like that's hard when you're their guy. I mean, you literally lived it, Dave, firsthand. I mean, you had a position change and everything because of a coaching change.
Yeah, so, I actually had a position change, which was.
I mean, shit, you had the ultimate of like, holy shit. Like, no, dude, I want you to go play this. And you're like, okay, I guess. I wasn't recruited here to do that, but sure, whatever helps the team, like. Well, those are really hard conversations to have with guys.
That is. I was unique in that I went to coach. I actually went to
so you approached him and said, hey, I'm not getting on the field at this position because you barely use it. Like, I want to go here because I can help.
Yes. I said,
nice.
I was, it's one of the things that helps when you have like a father that's a coach, right? So
yeah, he gets it.
I was like, I don't think he's going to give me an opportunity. Like I was the starter by the last 3 games of the year as a redshirt freshman, and I played all the time, even though.
So so mentally going into that next year, going, all right, we're going into spring. I'm the one. Like now we can rock. You know what I'm saying? Like here we go, and you're like, whoa.
Well, they already the spring before I got hurt. I had a back injury where I had to sit out for a year. The spring. After
which is a whole nother conversation.
Literally after my redshirt freshman year, where I started at fullback, Holtz came in. In the spring, he immediately demoted me. Before I was the starter, I was demoted before you
even got a chance to show what you could do.
So my confidence was I would say, usually I was supremely confident person. But I was at that point like, am I not good? Like, what's going on?
I thought the same shit.
Like, so I didn't play as good either because of that. So I had to really and then I had to back. Then I really, when Kiy was talking, I didn't get to really dive into it. But he talks about that, like losing the love for football. After that, wasn't even sure if I wanted to play. I was thinking about like, maybe I'll go run track somewhere. Maybe I'll, I did all the workouts. I said, then I committed myself. And I think one of the reasons why my back got hurt, because I went so hard in the weight room and running, I went from 200, almost 30 pounds to 215 because I thought he wanted like that option fullback. The option fullback, right? So I was like, all right, I'm going to come back. Then I came into camp and I had the injury and they said I couldn't play. So when I was off from football, I really had a lot of time to think. So when I came back, I ran track for a while. Then I got cleared to come back. I came back, and as soon as we were in winter workouts, I saw it. I was like, he's got me at number 3. Like,
yep. Oh God, dude, that look.
It's not going to go. It's not going to go in the right direction. During winter workouts, I went to him. Right there. I just was like,
buddy,
I was talking to my father back and forth on it. I said, I don't think he wants to play me. Okay. I was better than the guys that were in front of me.
Yeah. That didn't matter.
It didn't matter. But the one guy the one guy I had split time with, then I was the starter. He was the starter at first. Like I would say we were different. We had different skill sets. We both were very valuable, different skill sets. I was more of an athlete.
Of course.
He was more of like a bruising blocker. And
look, the running back world is still that way, Dave, right? Like we've seen it a couple years, right? Running back by committee. One guy does this, one guy does that. I mean, look, you can look at receivers. Yeah. It's the same way. This guy can stretch the field. This guy can catch first downs. You know what I mean? Like, and
that's how the guy before used us. The guy before used us towards our skills.
Smart.
So
don't you want to do what the guy does best? You know what I mean? Like
exactly. So I read
a one-trick pony where a Marshall Faulk that does everything, right? Or some of these guys that are like, what do we call 3 down backs? Like, dude. Plus, the adaptation of groupings within offenses, you know what I mean? Like, and personnel and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like you look at now, if you go on a roster as unless you're, Navy or Army, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like
a good lesson for players and athletes is
Kiy said it.
You're in that situation and you feel like you're stuck. You have 2 things you could do. You could prove them wrong, okay, and go down that route. And then if you start to go down that route and you still see that you're probably not going to, whatever reason, they don't see you there. Okay. It doesn't mean you're not better. They don't see you there as that person.
Correct.
I went in there and I said, listen, I'll play strong safety. I'll play outside linebacker, whatever. I'll move over to defense. I just want an opportunity to show I could do it. Okay.
Right. Just give me a shot. That's all I need.
He said, you got it. So I went over there.
Well, kudos to him for that, because he could have been like, no, Q. He could have been like, Q, you're
I
staying.
need you here. Yeah.
I don't have another guy like you on the roster. I still think you can do shit. Like, here we go.
Well, here's what's funny. My junior year, we had a great team. He really didn't need me there. Okay.
That was your best team that you had when you were there?
Yeah, we were like 8-3, and we probably should have been 11-0, but we were 8-3. Like we lost a couple of games, like really close games that we really should have won. But how it's close games, anything go back. But we easily could have been 11-0, easily. And that team was very good. And then the next year's team had all kinds of talent, but we had holes. So we were really strong in certain areas. We're really weak. So one of the areas my senior year that we were actually a little weak was actually at fullback, because now that I was the guy they brought in that was going to push me out, he left UConn. He couldn't hack it.
He just left. He just couldn't. He didn't like school, all that kind of shit,
and left.
Wow.
So he was the guy that
he didn't ask you to go back.
Well, they had another kid that was a freshman that was decent, but he was just young. He ended up being great, but he was just young. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't yet there blocking.
Well, you don't want to throw him into the fire either. And now all of a sudden he don't like it and he bails.
Yeah, but he ended up becoming like one of the best. Actually, unfortunately, passed away a couple years ago.
Oh,
but
God.
he was a great player. He ended up being a great, like he was kind of the fullback that I was. He could run, he could catch, he could block, and he was like a well-rounded athlete. He was a former track kid like I was. Like he was that kind of a kid. And but he was just young. But it was one of those things where that ended up being a little bit of a hole, because when I moved over, right, whereas we had a plethora of linebackers, because we had so many guys there. So I mean that was what, but it was a tough decision for me, because I was basically at a point where I was like, am I just gonna be ride it out over here and be stubborn, or am I gonna try and give myself a chance to play? And it ended up being a great decision. It wasn't easy, because the first year I transitioned to linebacker, I was the fourth guy. I nobody played better in camp than I did. I just didn't really know all the reads that well. I would just go see ball, get ball, and I would make a lot of plays. And the whole year I was kind of like that. But I was really the fourth guy. I started at the end of the year, but I was really
in a 4-3, right? Because you guys ran a 4-3.
Correct. And I was like the cover guy.
Right. Like almost like a nickel.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, I was bigger than them, but I like covered a tight end. You know what I'm saying? Like covered a tight end, covered a fullback, the running back or whatever. So so I was using that way, and then I started at the end of the year. But it was and then my senior year I started all the games. But it was one of those things where I don't know. It ended up being a great decision, but it was not an easy road. But it ended up working out, because there wasn't many other choices at that point. Like but I saw other guys, and you probably saw this as a player. Other guys who just were like, "Ugh, I'm buried," and
I'm done.
Not like you were. I was giving up my scholarship, but you're not getting that much out of those guys at that point. I was a person that needed to feel like I was going to get a shot, and let me go somewhere where that happens, and then I'll figure it out, and I'll get there. So, but probably what would have happened if I had stayed is I probably wouldn't have played very much my junior year. And then what would have happened was my senior year, because they would have been short of fullbacks, I probably would have ended up starting there. But I started at linebacker anyway. So I got to play a lot more by making the move. So my junior year, I got to play the whole year, as opposed to being on the bench half the time. So, what was funny?
I mean, look, same type of situation for me, right? Like, obviously, I transferred to Montclair. I go in there as a receiver, right? After 6 games, they're like, "Hey, we don't have any corners." And I'm like, "Coach, I'm not a corner. I'm a safety, if anything, right?" Because I was a strong safety at Sacred Heart. So now, after game 6 at Montclair, I'm seeing time, but it's not really what. Hey, I need your help. Okay. I go and play corner for the final 4 games of the year. End of the season, hey, we're going to put you to where we really feel like we need you, strong safety. Okay, now going to year, hey, I'm on the depth as a strong safety. Like, but I had made those moves. It's not like I was going to say no to it, right? And obviously, like, I wasn't moving to the other side of the ball after game 6 and going to start at corner, right? It was like, hey, you're an emergency corner. I just need a body who can understand like what's going on, you know? And obviously, corner, I think, is the easiest position to learn mentally, hardest to do physically, right? Like, you know, it's a manner zone. Like, tell me what I'm doing, right? Like that, I can figure that out. Like, so it was an easy transition that way. But now you're talking body type wise, like I'm trying to be a receiver, you know, I'm trying to be lean and quick and fast. And now, hey, I got to go play. I need to put on weight. So that off season was like, shit, I went from like 180 to like 195. And in an off season, because it was like strong safety in the box. So some of that I think has to do with it. And then it was difficult because, you know, I wasn't recruited by the DC. So he didn't see me as the right fit for the type of safety that he wanted in his defense. So I had to go out and just prove the shit out of it every single day. And, you know, I start my entire junior year, but I go into my senior year of camp and I'm splitting reps with a kid who just, you know, came in a transfer. And it was like, shit, you know, but look, like, and it was like, hey, you get 2 reps, he gets 2 reps, you get 2 reps, he gets 2.
That's so
and that was senior year after starting a whole time. Ultimately, like the kid quit before we ended camp, which was like, okay, guess I'm the starter now, you know, but that was really difficult. And look, that was the hardest for me off season. I worked my ass off to be like, I'm the starter, dude. Like, and going into spring, it was like, well, this kid's coming in, split reps. Oh no, like this is my spot. You know what I mean? Like, so you really had to mentally, physically, like you had to really put the work in to understand and put yourself in a really good position. But, you know, it's almost like you feel like everybody's against you. Like nobody wants you to be here. And it's like back against the wall. Like, how am I going to do this? And it's like, look, if it wasn't for, you know, like my dad having been a coach and understanding or having really good high school coaches to be like, dude, you know, you're good enough to go this. Just do what you do, you know, but it was tough. I mean, like you said, you start questioning every ability that you've ever had. Like, maybe I'm not good enough, you know, like maybe I should be here, you know, because my junior year, I was banged up towards the end of the season. So I didn't play real well my last couple games, actually got replaced, you know, in the last game, like, hey, this is going in. So you saw the writing on the wall, but it was like, I'm banged up, you know what I mean? But you're still trying to play through it because it is what it is. Like those are really hard, you know, times to be in those positions. I don't think a lot of guys can really handle that or don't know how to handle that unless you have somebody you can go to and talk to about it.
I think that's 100% correct. That's one of the most difficult things about playing the game, that you get in a situation where you're like, who do I talk to about this? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just like,
because you don't want to sound like a baby, right? Like, you don't want to be like, oh, well, you know what I mean? Like, that also comes into it a little bit.
Sometimes about it. Like, I would be like,
well, that too, but like, look, that was another part, right? Like my secondary room, half the guys thought this guy should start, half the guys thought, you know, and plus because we came in, I was kind of like bumped up above guys on the depth chart who had been there and had proven shit and whatever. And it was like, I just came in and went right up to that level. It was like, well, right? Like he hasn't been here. He hasn't done what we've done together. You know what I mean? Like that was a whole nother part of like, I had to earn the trust of like, not only coaches, but like the locker room and my position group, like, cause they didn't think I belonged there.
Correct. That was the hardest part. Your position group. Like, I was an offensive guy. Hargraves was the linebacker coach under Tom Jackson too. So I was an offense. He wasn't brought in with Holtz. He was a holdover from Jackson. So he just knew me as an offensive player. Like, you know, to him, I was like a fullback, you know? So he's like, what is this guy coming?
Like to them, I was a receiver, you know, I was a receiver.
What?
All these guys, right? And it was like, wait a minute, dude, you just had a white jersey for the last 6 weeks. And also, I showed up in the middle, like the first day I was on campus and practiced was their first day of full pads. So they were already in camp. You know what I mean? Like, and I went in as a sophomore. So it was like, this guy, where did he come from? What the is going on? And it was like, okay.
I'm curious if you thought this was a big transition, although you're a receiver, so you ran a lot of routes, so you might have been tired. But I thought this was the biggest transition for me going from as a running back, even as a fullback, even though we had a very physical job because of blocking and everything. Practice was easy as a running back. It was so easy, dude.
Really?
Oh my God. It was so now listen, when you had when inside drill was there, you're like, okay, I gotta take out the ends. Like you mentally had to focus in team, you mentally 100%. Had to focus in team inside drill because you get your ass whacked. But I was always kind of focused anyway, so that wasn't really gonna be an issue. But the biggest thing was when I went to defense, when he blew the whistle and I saw Hargraves take off down the field and we had a sprint to every drill and we had a sprint in pursuit. I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, we go until we do it right? Wait, what is that? Like
one of the bigger things for me too was, and I curious to see if it was like this at your, like offensive guys weren't really looked at to fill roles on specials.
I was a fullback, so you played specials.
And I loved specials, irregardless of whatever position I was playing. Like I just loved it. So as a receiver, I'm not really seeing time. I'm only in a certain groupings. Like I wanted to be like, dude, I want to get on specials. And it was like, nah, we got other guys. Like, and I was like, shit. The second I switched to defense, dude, now I never left for specials. I mean, like, why is the strong safety? Am I the holder? Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't get it. There's nobody else that can do that. I held all three at Montclair State, dude. Like, it was crazy. And like, that was just a bigger transition of, look, I knew like for those special teams sessions, and we got a lot of time, 3 different segments within practice for special teams. Like I was working, whereas like as a wideout, I was just chilling, like, okay, maybe take a rep here or there, but that was different too, to kind of condition yourself in terms of that aspect of like, hey, not only do you play a role as our starting safety, but you play a role on every special team that we have here.
Great point. I fullback, we played specials. So, because you were basically,
of course,
you're running down. What you were on the more offensive specials. So, right. I was an out back for punt. I was a or a block or a guard or tackle in punt, and then on kick, I was on kick return. I was on
the offensive ones.
Extra point. I was a wing.
Yeah.
When I was on defense, the specials I played were punt return. I played kickoff until I was a starter, like a full-time starter. And then, but it's funny. My junior year, the first game I started was the last game, and I got hurt halfway through that game on punt return because I used to like to set guys up. And the greatest thing about becoming a starter next year is really the only thing I was the up back for punt. And although they never let me run any damn fakes, which used to piss me off.
No, never. Listen, I always just wanted to return punts. And the only time I got to do it was if we did. The only time I got to return punts was if we went safe. I was the guy that got to go deep, and I was elated. I was like, please punt this good thing. Please punt this fucking thing. I only wanted, that's all I ever wanted was to return a punt. Like, I loved return of punts. But I mean, you're talking kick return, front line and kick return for every year I was there. I was on kickoff every year I was there, right? Punt, I was a wing, which, by the way, one of the hardest fucking jobs in the world is being the wing on punt because you got to block 2 at once. It's fucking miserable. And then punt return, I was on defense, so I was already out there. So I'm lining up and trying to like stop a gunner from running down the field. I wasn't returning punts, but I was like doing that. And then I was a holder on field goal. And then on field goal, extra point block, like I came off an edge. Like, I never left the field for specials in, my 3 years at Montclair State, or my last 2 years. Just sophomore year, I really didn't play. But it was unbelievable, dude. It was crazy.
That is, it's interesting. You didn't leave the field.
I mean, senior year, I'm like in camp. You're like, coach, still have to be the wing on punt. Like, what do we do? Like, as it is, our offense wasn't very good. Like, some of those guys will be pissed about it, but it was like 3 and out all the time. By the time I got to the bench, coach sat down, talked to us, made our adjustments. It was like, hey, punt ready. I'm like, shit, here we go. I'm back on the field. Like, now look, I loved it because it allowed me to be in the game, and that's all I knew from school was never leaving the field. But those first couple of years when you're not playing those, like the 2 kickoffs you get in a game might be it's your world, right? So you're going all out. Like, here we go. I remember my first travel game at Sacred Heart, I was only on kick return. Damn. Like, different world.
No, that's 100% true. Completely different world. It's interesting. Well, all right. Back tomorrow. We will see everybody then.